Pastor Hazel. We'll turn it over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for that warm welcome for our Sligo local church family. You can guess where I'm sitting. I chose to come here so that you can feel a little bit at home, right, during the presentation. So for the rest of you, this is our atrium as you walk into our Sligo church. Today we want to talk about something that can cause a little bit stress. I brought two of our stress balls over because finances can be a tough subject. But I have a question. Our Sligo kids know I love to ask questions. And one of the questions I want to ask you is, what does it truly mean to be well financially speaking? As we've heard the last week's our wellness presentations, we are learning to find that balance that we need, right? So how do we find that balance in finances? Finances is part of definitely of the wellness wheel. And because money is a big deal, we pretty much need it for everything, right? When we worry about money, we get stressed and anxious, hence my two stress balls that I brought over. And that can create a lot of problems, not only with our health, at home in our relationships, but also it can also affect our spiritual life, our spiritual walk. I almost am tempted to ask this morning or this afternoon, how's your spiritual walk? You see, the financial wellness dimension that's part of this wellness wheel that we're embracing with the women's ministry, it involves things like income, debt, and savings, as well as a person's understanding, the basic understanding of financial processes and resources. You know, and something that I find extremely interesting is that in the Bible, 40%, at least 40% of the parables, that's the stories that Jesus told, they talk actually about money. And as Christians, you might hear us use the word stewardship a lot. A stewardship can be defined as protecting and expanding our assets of another. And for us as Christians, we refer to that as God's, right? So basically we are on God's team, right? We sometimes misunderstand. Unfortunately, sometimes we misunderstand our role though when it comes to playing a part in the management on God's team. And we definitely run into financial problems. Sometimes we claim ownership on what's simply not ours. But you see, one author says, God is expecting us to expand what he got started in the Garden of Eden. And so today we just kind of want to relax and talk a little bit about the basics of finance. And before we get started, we're going to show a short video.
In a world of uncertainty, we build our lives.
Not talking.
It seems I'm having a bit of uncertainty here. So give me just 1 second as I pull that video again.
When your pen please. Got 3 here, don't know what.
In a world of uncertainty, we build our lives on promises. Parents promise to provide. Husbands and wives promise to be faithful. Businesses promise to pay. Financial institutions and markets offer the promise of growth and security and return on investment. What are the promises on which you build your life? Are you building your financial plan on the promises of the economy or on the promises of the kingdom? We're addicted to consumption, material excess, and spending beyond our means. The typical American family has $15,000 in credit card debt, $32,000 in educational debt, and $150,000 in mortgage debt. In fact, the total credit card debt for the country is $850 billion. The national debt of the United States has risen from $4 trillion in 2004 to over $17 trillion today, and the figure continues to grow by $2.7 billion per day. The numbers are staggering. According to independent experts, the total of federal unfunded liabilities, the difference between what the government collects and what it has committed to pay, is $127 trillion. That's over $1 million per taxpayer and roughly double 2012's entire world economic output. This is not a partisan issue. It's simple arithmetic. Your securities may be less secure than you think. Your savings might not save you. And it's enough to make you ask, are you grounding your life on the boasts of the marketplace idols? Or on the everlasting promises of a faithful God?
Oh my God.
The Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender. Save money and compound interest is a miracle that works in your favor. Go into debt and compound interest is a nightmare that steals your future. Our money says, in God we trust. What do your IOUs say? Is debt your servant or your master? Debt is not always unwise. There are many varieties of debt, and wise debt can increase your capacity for the kingdom. But unwise debt diminishes your capacity for generosity. Money you owe to the bank is money you cannot give to the needy. In fact, when you give to the needy, the Bible says God Himself is indebted to you. The next time you face a debt decision, ask yourself, am I acting in faith or am I acting in fear? Am I taking something now that God might want to give to me in His time? Your promise to the bank is a liability. Your faithfulness to give to others is an asset on which they can build their lives. Financial freedom means the freedom to give, the freedom to live the life that is truly life, the freedom to join God in His mission of rescue and restoration. Are you building your life on your promises to pay the bank? Or are you building your life on God's promises to you? Which promise will you choose today?
Let me share my note. Okay, so let's get started here. All right, there we go. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, let's get started. So wallets, assets, and finances. Ooh. Okay, so how are you managing your personal finances in the times of emergencies? And although we look at COVID-19 as a huge emergency, the truth is that even after we're over on the other side of COVID, we're going to continuously have emergencies in our personal lives, right? So the experts say that 27% of American families were financially fragile even pre-COVID. It's really hard to grasp that. And when COVID-19 hit, many families were already desperately hurting financially. So most didn't even have, this was a very sad fact that I encountered as I did my research. Most families didn't have an emergency fund. A lot of families didn't even have $400 either in cash, in savings, or in the bank. And a lot of families didn't have a 401k or any kind of retirement account because although we want to use that as for our future, a lot of times when big emergencies hit, unfortunately, sometimes we borrow from our 401k. So now what? What do the experts say? So COVID's here, we can't help it, we're here, we're in the situation. So now what? Okay, so right now, what the experts are saying is crucial is learn what the government is doing to help. Many people, unfortunately, because they lost their job, have not been able to pay their rent or their mortgage, right? So most, if not all of the mortgage companies right now are offering help in something that's called, they help you postpone your payment, okay? They're not saying, look, forget about, you're not gonna have to pay until COVID is over. No, what they're doing is they're helping you create, the mortgage companies have something that's called a forbearance. Now you have to actually call them. A lot of mortgage companies have automatically reached out to you. But if not, you make sure you reach out to your mortgage company and say, can I apply for a forbearance? And what does that mean? Depending on your bank, you have to make sure that you understand exactly what it means, because they have different setups that they have. For example, one bank, I know my personal bank, what they're doing is you don't have to pay, okay, right now. But at the end of your forbearance, you're going to have to pay everything that you didn't pay. So really, I was thinking, okay, if you can't afford to pay every month, then how on earth are you going to come up with $10, $12, $15,000 at the end of your forbearance? So make sure you understand with your mortgage company how that forbearance works with them, okay? Another way the forbearance works is what a lot of companies are doing is basically you don't pay, right, until you can. And then in 6 months, you can do either 6 months, 3 months, some of them go up to a year, depending on your personal situation. And so at the end of that, what they'll do is they'll either grab all of those back payments and they'll throw it to the end of your loan. And so if you were almost finished paying your mortgage, or if you had 10 years to go, now you'll have 10 years plus whatever you didn't pay during COVID, okay? And the other part is they'll encourage you sometimes to, at the end of your forbearance period, what they do is they take all of, not just the amount that you couldn't pay throughout your COVID crisis, but they'll accumulate that with your whole balance, and then they'll actually kind of rework your loan and come up with a new payment amount for the remainder. You can either go 10 years, 20, whatever works best for your family, okay? Now, another thing you want to do, the experts are saying, is, of course, you want to check the resources that are available for you. And also, before I get into this one, what I want to say is a lot of banks also offer the same thing on your car payments and your credit card payments. So it doesn't just apply, okay, to your mortgage payments, to any kind of payments, your student loans and everything, to make sure you check with your lender. Now, you want to make sure that you check your resources that are available in your community, okay? There's a lot of assistance. If you can't pay your utilities, this is something that's crucial. If you can't find yourself right now coming up with enough money to pay your electricity, your water, just your basic necessities. So make sure that you find, and we're going to help you. We're going to give you links where you can go and find some of these resources, maybe in your community that you were not aware of. And as you've heard us here in Sligo, we've been blessed to be able to help with our COVID emergency fund. So many that have been unfortunately hurt drastically with COVID. So make sure you're checking all of the availabilities that they have on the resources. Now, something else that the experts say is immediately create a budget and cut your expenses. Now, you might have to cut things that you enjoy doing, dancing classes, cable, magazines, but we're talking about right now, it's more important to find payments for your necessities, okay? And these are just temporary. You don't have to cut these out of your life permanently. It's just temporary, okay? So you know your household, you know what, but right now just pause and relook at what you're paying every month, from month to month. If it's affecting you coming up with your mortgage and rent payment, or your car, or your utilities, or food, just maybe you might have to just temporarily suspend those things, okay? Another thing some experts say, and this is kind of, you have the conservatives and a little bit of liberals, and some people say, don't worry about your credit score. Others say, no, you definitely need to worry about your credit score. So you want to make sure you do pay in time, whatever you're not granted a forbearance on. And again, that's a kind of a battle that goes back and forth about protecting your credit score. Now, another thing you want to do is, I already know people, unfortunately, that have suffered with fraud. Right now, there's a lot of fraud going on. Maybe you've gotten text messages from numbers and emails that you don't even recognize, and click a link, or phone calls, just all sorts. We even have fraud that happens here at Sligo Church, right? If you ever receive an email from Pastor Tapp saying that he's busy in a meeting and he needs you to do him a favor and go get some gift cards, please, please do not do that, okay? I promise you that Pastor Tapp will not send, or any of us pastors will send you that type of email. But it happens, and unfortunately, people have fallen for these type of frauds. So please make sure that you just are extremely cautious right now, as it's so hiked up right now, the different types of frauds that are happening right now, okay? And another thing is manage your debt, okay? Now, right now we want to look at some basic tips. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we can say, for those of you that have Alexa, Alexa, show me the money, and then the money just pops up for whatever you need. But since that can't happen and it's not going to happen, then we want to look at what can we do right now. So some experts right now say, spend less than you make. Right now, just spend less than you actually have coming in. Adjust your budget, like we said. Keep moving forward, okay? If you've made financial mistakes, don't ponder on those mistakes. Many of us, if not all of us, have made many money mistakes, okay? But it helps you get stronger, wiser, and so just move forward in a positive direction, okay? Now, something else another expert say is give. Give. Why give? Because giving, in college, I can only handle 3 credit hours of psychology, but something that I'll never, ever forget is that, and some of the experts maybe that we even have here can help us with the correct terms, but when you give, it actually creates this thing in our brain that actually physically makes us feel better. And maybe you can remember a time that you've donated to a cause and how it made you feel. That's right. And that's why the experts say, give back. And another thing they say, quickly, try to get out of debt as quickly as possible. And another thing, grow your nest egg. That's right. So those are some basic things. So we want to start with the basic budget. What exactly is a budget? Okay, maybe you hear about the budget for our nation, and you think, well, I can't really do much about that besides voting, right? Well, you can definitely do something with your personal budget for your home. Now, a budget is a statement of estimated income and expenses for a period of time, a plan for using money. That's exactly what a budget is. Have you ever felt like this every month when you come and it's time to pay your bills and you're trying to stretch your money and you just find yourself just falling short month after month, and that's exactly what a budget helps you do. In that way, you won't react or run into some of the surprises you run into when you sit down to pay your monthly bills. Well, let's see. A budget helps with overspending and it allows us to meet our financial obligations. The most important things are our immediate necessities. What is that? A roof over your head. I'm thinking right now, some of you already know that in my neighborhood, right now they have 12 families that are homeless because Thursday, they had a fire. And so 12 families, and these are the emergencies we're talking about, okay? Are you going to be prepared for something unfortunate that happens? So are these things on the screen bad? Absolutely and positively not. I love photography. I love eating out. I love acquiring things. I love these things. Now, how can they become bad in essence, right? Well, for example, let's take the shoes, for example. I'm sure there's a lot of you that enjoy buying shoes. I know these are ladies' shoes, but I have to tell you that my older son, if he could buy a pair of brand new shoes every week, he would, okay? So it's not just the ladies we're talking about here, but I want to use this as an example, okay? Let's just say, for example, you purchased some shoes because you just needed that color to go with your outfits because you want to be ready when we come back together after COVID. And so you just need it, right? It needs to match your mask, your outfit, whatever. And that's fine. So you found a good deal. Okay, here's when it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem when you make that purchase of whatever it is, whether it's some electronics, whatever it is, okay? And you purchase it with a credit card. You got a good deal because it was on sale, but you purchased it with a credit card and you're not paying off that credit card every month. You heard in our video the average amount of credit card debt that our families have. So what's the problem? Well, you have a running balance on that credit card. And most of the department store credit cards, the interest rates are above 20%, most of them. Okay. And if you have a good deal with, say, some of the Visa, MasterCard, American Express, maybe your interest rate's lower, I don't know, 9, 8, 7, 11%. But what if you still have a running balance and you ended up paying it off in what, 3, 10 years? Was that sale such a good idea after all? So those are the things that we need to think about, okay? Just basic things, okay? So number one, emergency fund, okay? That's the first thing the experts say that we should do. We want to build an emergency, everyone should have an emergency fund. Now, the emergency fund is going to depend on your household, okay, and your income. It could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, okay? But that's just an immediate emergency fund. Your ultimate goal is to create funding your finances for your home to have enough savings that would cover anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of all of your expenses. I'm talking about from rent to food to everything in your household. That's what the experts suggest that should be our goal, okay? Now you say, that sounds pretty good, Pastor Hazel, but I got laid off and I lost my job. How am I supposed to just come up with this emergency fund? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here are some of ideas that they give us where that'll help us immediately fund these emergency funds. You can write articles. If you enjoy writing, why not write an article? There's tons you can do research, and there's a lot of places where you can freelance and write an article and actually get paid for it. And if you like to take pictures, you don't have to be a professional photographer. If you just enjoy that, that's your hobby, and you take nice pictures, there's a lot of apps that you can sell your pictures to. It's really, really encouraging to see that. And let me ask you, sometimes we continuously update, right? Our cell phones, our iPads, our tablets, anything. How many do you have laying around at home? You can sell those. I guarantee that everyone has something laying around home that they're not using. Maybe them still have new tags on them that you never got to use. You can sell all that. How about if you're crafty? How about if you knit? How about if you create things? There's so many websites today with technology that you can actually sell these on. Some of them are Etsy, I think you pronounce it, eBay, but there's so many. And how many of you have Facebook? Well, I bet most of you have Facebook. And even through Facebook, I believe it's called Facebook Marketplace, you can sell through there. There's so many different apps where you can sell, okay? And you can even buy, if you're looking for a piece of furniture, if you don't necessarily want it brand new, I mean, there's people what is it, that saying that says someone's trash is another man's treasure? Or one man's trash is another man's treasure. Yeah, this is true, right? And so you can buy and you can sell, okay? Just a lot of things. I've seen some of these sites on Facebook and people really sell anything, clothes, shoes. I mean, I'm surprised, and they actually sell them. So there's a lot of things that you can do to immediately try to bring in income, okay? And some people actually just go and get a temporary part-time job. If it means, helping your family get out of debt and just trying to get in a better position, remember, it's all temporary. I've known people with 2 degrees deliver pizza temporarily because they wanted to pay off some credit cards. And so there's no shame in that, right? And so this is going to bring you into a better place. This is why it's called a wellness wheel. We want you to just be financially well. And it doesn't matter how much debt you have right now or how much in the hole you are. It's always a good time just to get started where you're at. But you have to move into action. You have to get started, okay? Because as we heard at the beginning, as Christians, the Bible says that the debt we're slaves to debt. And we don't want that. We want to be free to do so many beautiful things that we can do in life. And you know what? One thing that I want to remind you is whenever that let's just say you have funded your emergency fund, and let us know, send us an email and say, Pastor Hazel, I have my emergency funded. We want to hear you. We want to travel this journey with you, okay? We would love to hear your story. And so let us know. But something you have to remember, if you get a flat tire, if you have to change something in your car, if your, plumbing goes wrong, whatever it is, that emergency now, you not feeling like cooking, okay, and having to go out and buy food, that doesn't constitute an emergency. So you're not dipping into your emergency fund for these items, okay? This is strictly for an emergency. Now, when you do pull, let's say you get a flat tire, you have to spend $200 on this, okay? So you're so blessed because you have this emergency fund, you take the $200, you buy the tire. Now, remember, you have to pay back that emergency fund, okay? So your goal now is going to be to replenish that emergency fund. So it's always going to be either at 500 or 1,000 or whatever, your household, and what your emergency fund should be wherever you are in your walk. Okay. And so our goal is always because a lot of people forget this. They use their emergency fund over and over. And as it's going lower, they forget to replenish it. So replenishing it is huge. Okay. Now, something important, basic that we want to do is we want to break the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm thinking of, I worked many years at a bank, and I'll never, ever forget a man walking in. I was working at a desk, and he walked in and he asked me if I can help him balance his checkbook. And he says, I don't understand, okay? He had his checkbook with him. And he showed me, he says, look, I still have checks in here, but my account is overdrawn. I don't understand. And at first I thought he was joking, but then I understood that he was telling me the truth. He had checks in his checkbook, and he thought because he still had checks, literally he can continue to write them without making deposits into his account. And I'll never forget that because it reminded me of how so many people might just not know the basics of money. And so this is why we're doing this today. We just want to share some of the basics. Money and finances, it's huge. Later on, hopefully the women's ministry can host something if you're ready for your retirement, something specific, because we need a lot of hours to be able to target each area, your retirement, just so many, it's vast. It's a vast area. Now, we're still on budget. So right now, update or create a budget. If you've never done a budget. Now, I used to do mine on paper, and it took me a long time to transition to electronically. But a few months ago, one of my nephews says he tuned us into this electronic app called Wine App. And I actually got in touch with them, and we're going to have some videos that we're going to share with you and the links that we're going to send you later. Because they sent us some videos to share with you so that you can understand the basics, and they're short videos, a few minutes long each, okay? And so I transitioned to an electronic budget, and I have to tell you, it saves me so much time. So you have to do whatever works for you, whether it's on paper or electronic, whatever works best for you, okay? Now, what you want to do is you want to track your expenses. Now, we are about to enter March, believe it or not. It's amazing. I can't believe that, okay? Now, what if you take your finances, and I want you to add up everything that you spend in January and in February. I'm talking about everything, okay? Even that dollar expense, and you're gonna create line items for all the categories, okay? Your rent, your gas, your light, your utilities. You're going to do miscellaneous. If you like shopping on Amazon, you're going to create an Amazon. I'm talking about create a line item for everything, okay? And you're going to do that. You're going to track it. You're going to create a line item. Why? Because if you're continuously putting money into these areas, then you have to make sure that every time you get paid, you're going to fund those accounts so that when you make the purchases, you already have the money available, okay? And at the end of the month, at the beginning of the month, you'll have enough money for your rent, you'll have enough for your utilities, for the necessities, and you have to categorize it in the order of importance, not in what you want, but it's in what you need. The first things, make sure you always take care of your family and household first, your rent, your utilities, your car. Even if you run behind, and this is why some of the experts argue about when you're trying to get out of debt, about your credit score, because to them, it's more important for you to pay your rent than a credit card and ruining your credit score. And that's where the argument happens, okay? So create a line item for every single category, okay? And go ahead, and if you're married, do this together with your spouse, okay? Because it's a household affair. And it's going to be scary, I'm telling you, okay? It's going to be scary when you realize how much you spend on even small purchases that you're making, okay? If you've never actually tracked your expenses, I'm warning you now, be prepared, because some of you are really going to get surprised, okay? Now, include, when you plan with your spouse or on your own, include your short-term goals, okay? Long-term goals. Well, I'd really like to get a new camera lens. Okay, we'll put that line item down. Maybe I'll fund it $5 at a time, but guess what? Eventually, it's going to add up, okay? And it's, trust me, just short-term and long-term goals. You know where you are with your family. We already said prioritize your items, allocate every dollar. This is important, okay? Right now, whatever amount of money you have sitting in your account right now, in your checking account and savings account, you need to put a name to every single penny. Because let's say you have $400, okay? Because that's the number that was used at the beginning. Let's say you have $400 in your checking account. What are you using those $400 for? Are you just going to say, well, I have $400 left, woohoo, and I paid my rent, I paid everything, okay? So I can just go and buy whatever. No. No, the answer is no, okay? You want to put a name to every single penny. You take those wherever you are, if it's $400, if it's $4,000, whatever you have sitting in your account right now, you need to create a budget and put a name to every single one of those dollars and pennies. So maybe you can fund and say, okay, if your rent is $2,000, you take your $10,000 balance and you say, okay, 2,000 here. Okay, good. Check. I have my rent prepared for March. And then you start groceries based on whatever you track. Well, wow, we spent $500 in groceries. Okay, so I need to make sure that I'm having enough money. Okay, so when I go to the grocery stores, always make a grocery list is what the experts say, because when you go, and it's happened to me, you go in for 2 items and you don't have a list, you don't have a budget, so you just buy whatever you feel. And if you go hungry, I'm telling you, it's going to be even worse. You come out with, I don't know, 6 bags, 7 bags, okay, versus 2 items. And next thing you know, oh man, I spent way too much. Oh, and I forgot I haven't paid my cell phone bill. Oh, my internet due is billed today. And I really need internet right now with COVID. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So make sure that you allocate and put a name to every single penny that you own, okay? And again, we said you can do paper or electronic, whatever works best for you. Now, like we said, there's tons of apps that out there that you can look for, okay? Now, first thing we want to do, again, after that, get out of debt. Just, again, Proverbs 22:7, we're a slave to, we don't want to be a slave to the lender. Just Try. 80% of our households are in debt, okay? And it's the number 2 cause of divorce. Finances causes problems, okay? Just stop borrowing, okay? Pay bills before you buy ones. Debt snowball. What is that? That means that you can take, let's say you have 5 credit cards you owe. You make a list. You list them in order of the smallest balance, okay? You list them in order and you pay the minimum balance due on all of them except the first one, the smallest one. You send that one as much as you can, whatever's left in your budget every month. Say you have an extra $100, you dump it there. And guess what? Next thing you know, that card balance is gone. You check it off, you cut it up, do whatever, okay? Because our purpose is to get out of debt, never go back there again. And there's an argument too, whether we need credit cards or not. That's for your household and family to decide. But if you do have a credit card, the goal is going to be to make sure you pay the balance at the end of every month, because there's a lot of points and things that companies offer, right, that you can benefit from. So if you're using credit card, the goal is to make sure you pay off the complete balance at the end of every single month, okay? That's what a debt snowball is called. And if you want, create a line of how much to pay for your next emergency. If you don't create a line item for every single item, car repairs, everything. I have a miscellaneous, and I'm so happy that I have a miscellaneous. Don't tell my husband. This happened to me last month. I totally forgot to budget for his birthday, and he's been so amazing, a supportive husband, and from our ministry. And I knew that I was going to do something special for his birthday, but I forgot to budget for it. Do not tell him, please. So guess what? I was ecstatic that I had enough money in my miscellaneous item that would cover that expense, because I promise you, you will forget to budget for something, okay? And it's such a relief to know that you have that miscellaneous line item that will cover whatever you forget, okay? Now the goal is to get out of all of our debt. The one that the experts say is okay to carry is the mortgage, right? Because it's probably the largest expense that you'll carry. Let's see. So, okay, we have to change our habits. If we don't change our habits, then what is it? If we don't change, then we won't see a change, right? We have to change our habits. If you get serious about this, then change your habits and pray about everything, please. I've learned over the years that there's power in prayer. There's power in prayer. And we make such a mess of things, but we have a faithful God, and it all belongs to God anyway, right? And so as we try to do our best with what God's entrusted us with, I promise you that he'll help us, and he'll find ways to help us get out of the holes we're in, okay? Don't give up. Just manage your money better. Live within your means. There's a saying that goes that we dress nice and we buy expensive things to impress people that we don't even like. When I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness, can you believe that? So forget about trying to impress anybody. Just live within your means, okay? Take care of yourself by all means. I have a self-care line item, okay? Well, I don't know what you like, maybe to buy some nice tea or buy a camera lens to go take pictures of nature. Take care of yourself. Make sure you include a line item for yourself, okay? Help others. This is in our core as Christians, to help others. It feels so good to be able. Imagine if you get out of debt and all of a sudden you're saving so much money, and you can actually write a check to pay the tuition for someone. Imagine, how would that make you feel? This is our goal, okay? Be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much. Be patient with yourself, okay? Do comparison shopping. Even on the internet, there's so many places that you can go to. Do comparison shopping, okay? Now some things, and maybe you understand what I mean when I say, look, I'm willing to buy non-brand items when it comes to the grocery, but not everything, okay? And maybe you know what I mean. Certain items, you like your brand, and that's okay. But other things, it doesn't really matter, right? Because it's all the same ingredients, whatever. So just, just do some comparison shopping there and volunteer. Volunteering does great things because you recognize and realize, first of all, you stop worrying up and thinking about your own messes that you're in and the troubles that we have. We all have them, but the focus moves from us and we see the needs that are out there and we recognize and see that they have others that are in much greater needs than us, okay? Make a financial plan. 401k, many of your employers offer this and take advantage of that. Build retirement, fine, there's a lot of retirement experts, okay, that can help you. Diversify your investments, okay? There's that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Diversify. Reduce risk at your age. You talk to an expert because they'll help you with that, okay? And for those of you that are part of the Atomic Conference, you'll be happy to know that if you don't have a will, our stewardship department will help you create a free will. So make sure that you go to our Atomic Conference website. And if not, just reach out to us here. We'll put you in touch with the right person, but they'll help you get that in order, okay? And again, it's free. So take advantage of the free stuff. Remember, give generously. God loves a cheerful giver. 2 Corinthians 9, 6, and 7. And the more we give, there's an amazing song that I heard when I was in Israel. And it talks about joy goes, and the more we give it, the more we get it back. And it talks about a penny, that if we take that penny and we close our hand, nothing else can come in. But guess what? When we close our hands, we're not giving, more can't come in. So it's like this double thing, right? I have pennies in my hand. Am I going to give? My hands will be open to give. And guess what? My hands are still open, so more comes in. And God allows me the opportunity to help others. So as my brother told me about 20 years ago, Hazel, the problem is that we don't plan to fail. Nobody likes to fail. But the fact is that we fail to plan. So that's it. That's our presentation. And we hope that this can help you. Just, like I said, just the basics. Sometimes we just need to find the basics in our financial and in our life. So may God continue to bless you as we do this thing called life. And as we journey into our personal finances and pray, let's just pray about everything. And I promise you that the fact of the matter is that we'll never be able to outgive God. Remember that. You'll never be able to outgive God. So God bless you.